Hello, my name is Robstar and this is my first ever attempt at a Pokemon Hardcore Nuzlocke. Before we begin, here are the rules. No items in battle, no overleveling, only one Pokemon per area. If a Pokemon faints, it is considered dead and all Pokemon must be nicknamed. So this is my first ever Nuzlocke. I have never done it before, but there's a first time for anything. You probably see a lot of bad decisions in the video, because this is my first ever hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Legends Arceus. With that, we get straight into the video. The first thing we do is choosing my starter Pokemon. On my first game I chose Oshawott, but this time I will give Rowlet a chance. I named him Louie, which doesn't fit in this series, but you will see why. We start the first battle against Volo, which we smash through with Gust. Then we start capturing the 3 starter Pokemon Bidoof, Starly and Shinx, and I can only choose one of them to keep. I keep Bidoof and I named him Stewie. After that I get the uniform which fits better in this game. At Horseshoe Plains I catch a Bucel which I named Quagmire. After that I catch a Wurmple at the Floara Gardens and call him Cleveland. You now know where I'm going with the nicknames, right? With that it's time for the battle against Akari. She starts with her Pikachu as I start with Louise. Pikachu first hit the Thunder Shock which didn't deal that much damage. I then did a Leaf Age which deals a lot of damage. Then a Thunder Wave hits me, but it doesn't really matter as one Leaf Age does the trick. Next I evolved Cleveland into Silcoon. Next was the fight against May. And oh boy, it was already getting hard here. She started with Munchlax as I started with Louise. I first did a Gust, but that barely did anything. Know that I go into this Nuzlocke completely blindfolded because I only completed the game once and didn't know the opponent's moves, so I got hit by a rollout which hits hard. I then switched to Quagmire, who was so underleveled, and did an Aqua Jet. Another rollout almost kills my Bucel. I had to make a sacrifice here for Stewie, and of course his rollout misses. Then Munchlax hits a rollout which hits hard. I then go for another rollout which hits, but Stewie dies. Plus you Stewie. I did a ruse to heal myself and use my flying ability. This goes on for a while, until I get the chance to hit 2 turns in a row. At this point the same routine goes here. I wait until there's an opening and then attack, and finally the Munchlax faded, but at what cost? Next I catch a Geodude at their track path and named him Joe. After that the fight against Alpha Kricketune started. I totally forgot that Kricketune can do an aerial ace in this game, so I almost went down to it. I switched to Joe, but that was a mistake, as Kricketune knew Absorb and Joe was already finished. Ironically, he has no legs here too. I switched to Quagmire, who hits an Aqua Jet, which doesn't do that much. Then I hit a strong style Quick Attack, but that didn't do much as well. It was time for another sacrifice. I did another strong style Quick Attack and then the Kricketune takes me out with a final aerial ace. Goodbye Quagmire. Next was Louie as he takes him out with a Gust. Next thing I do is evolve Cleveland into Dustox. I then failed to catch a Stantler. At the Warren Bridge I caught a Starly which I named Lois, and at the Nature's Pantry I caught a Kricketot and named her Meg. Straight after that I catch a Zubat at the Tidewater Dam and named her Bonnie, but too bad Bonnie dies in training. I really need to get better at this. At Windswept Wen I catch an Abra which I named Herbert. After some training I evolved Meg into a Kricketune and Lois into a Staravia. A while later I catch a Psyduck which will be in my team later and named him Chris. I then challenge Lion where I made a huge miscalculation for bringing in Louie, and he dies. What a shame. Meg comes out and finishes the job. The next battle was against Iwata, who starts with Glaceon. I didn't train my Pokemon that well, so that will be a learning curve. I started with Chris, who almost dies in the beginning, so I had to switch to Meg. A Swift does plenty of damage as I did a Slash. Another Swift hits and I had to switch to Cleveland right after that. I try to poison Glaceon with a Poison Sting, but it fails. Glaceon then goes for a Quick Attack and a Swift, which almost kills my Cleveland. I then hit another Poison Sting and now it's poisoned. And then Glaceon hits me. Man, I didn't know my Dustox will survive this attack, but I'm glad it did. I switched to Lois, who hits an aerial ace and defeats Iwata, but that was too risky. The Cleaver fight was easy enough, as I didn't have to use my Pokemon for it. After that, it was time for Herbert to evolve into a Kadabra. I then catch up on my chop at the Old Burrow Tunnel and named him Brian. I did some research task and found a full old shiny Luxio. That is great, I catch it, but I won't use it in this run. I catch a Mime Junior and Sand Gem Freds, who will be important later in this run. The battle against Akari was flawless, so on to the next area. In the next area I catch a Beauty and will use him when there's space available. The next fight is against Foro, which isn't really that hard as Togepi goes down to an air slash. I had to switch Lois for Meg because Lois her health was low and Meg manages to take out Gibble. The Bandit Sisters goes down to literally one air slash. Yes, I have it easy nowadays. Next, I catch my favorite Pokemon of all time, Porygon-Z, and named him, you guessed it, Robstar-Z. After that, the fight against Ursaluna starts. I start with Meg, who gets hit by a slash. I knew that Kricketune wasn't the best Pokemon for this Nuzlocke, so I did an Absorb and let him die. Thanks for everything, Paul. I switched in Chris, who did a bubble, and after that a Wallapooz, and it didn't kill the Ursaluna, so Chris goes down as well. I switched in Cleveland and he finishes the Ursaluna with a strong style confusion, and with that we won the fight. I switched in Porygon-Z and Beauty in my team. I then evolved Brian into a Machoke. After that, my Dustox dies in training. Again, I need to really get better at training my Pokemon because it's really hard. I haven't got unlimited rare candy, so for me it's really hard for now. After some training, I did the dumbest thing I could do in this run. I wanted to set another base camp, but totally forgot you had to fight 3 Stunkies, and that is where my Louis dies. Well, that was dreadful, and my Choke nearly dies too. Herbert comes in and finishes the Stunkies. I catch a Croagunk at Sludge Mount and named her Connie. Then it was time for the fight against Gigant, but again, it was doable with using 0 Pokemons. I then catch a Teddy Ursa at Ursa's Ring. I did some research task at the Obsidian Fieldlands where suddenly a space-time distortion spawns. I catch a Sneasel in this distortion and named it Donna. By the way, the Beauty in my team is named Adam West. I really ran out of Family Guy characters here, so I had to search some up. In the next area, I fight Irada with a Glaceon and Eevee. I first took a big hit with Brian as Glaceon did an Ice Beam. I didn't feel safe, so I switched to Connie. Connie got hit by a quick attack and then an Ice Beam takes Connie out. Next is Donna and I did a Poison Jab. Eevee did a quick attack and Glaceon does the Arga style Baby Doll Eyes. After that, Glaceon hits me with a stronger Ice Beam than expected. I switched to Porygon-Z and took out the Glaceon with a Tree attack. The Eevee goes down next. I switched in Teddy Ursa in the team and named her Tricia. I could instantly evolve him into a Ursaring. At Fellstone Cape I catch Growlithe, which will go in the box for now. After that I catch a Spew at the Hideaway Bay and he goes in the box as well. I had to catch a Dusclops at the Deadwood Hout for the mission, but since it was a route where I didn't caught a Pokemon before, I stored it in the box. At Fire Sprite Island I catch a Magmar. I then evolved Adam West into a Roselia. And yet another Pokemon decides to kill my Pokemon. Training in this game is a lot harder than usual. Next up is the fight against the Bandit Sisters, and this was way harder than the first encounter. First up is Clover with her Abomasnow. I start with my Adam West. I start with a Venoshock, which almost kills Abomasnow, and the Abomasnow does a strong style, which means I'm basically fucked. I switched in Donna, who finishes the job. The next sister is Coin, with her Toxicroak. Since I have no flying Pokemon left, I have to start with Tricia. A strong style Poison Jab hits, which take half my health, and then did 2 Bulldozers to knock out the Toxicroak. Last up was Charm, and she starts with her Rhydon, and I start with my Tricia once again. It was Misty, so some attacks misses here and there. I start off with a strong style Bulldoze, which does plenty of damage, but then Rhydon doesn't miss once, but the idiot misses twice. I try to hit the Bulldoze, which misses, and that is my payback because Rhydon then does a Bulldoze and kills Tricia. I brought in Donna and did 2 Ice Shards to knock out the Rhydon, and another 2 Ice Shards to deal a lot of damage to Gengar. He misses several Hypnoses, so I switched to Porygon and to finish the battle. Again, the fight against the noble Pokemon was doable with 0 Pokemons, but this time I had some trouble though. I placed Dusclops and Speel in my team and named to Diana and named Speel Barbara. I knocked out some Duskulls to get a Reaper Cloth and evolved Diana into a Dusknoir. With enough merit points I could buy a Lincoln Cord to evolve Kadabra into a Alakazam. I also brought Magmar in the team. The next battle was against Leader Adamant, but the fight was a cakewalk. And here's another dumb decision. I try to get research stats for Ursaring, so I fight this Alpha, but Morse dies in it. I try to defeat him with Porygon-Z, but he dies too, and that's the story how I lost my favorite Pokemon. It is shameful, but we gotta move on. I evolved Barbara into a Celio and will replace Porygon-Z and Magmar with Gollive, which I named Neil. I hunted for a Firestone in the Red Orbs and got one, and evolved Neil into an Arcanine. The next area is the Coronet Highlands, where I catch Gible. After some training, it was time for Gible to evolve into a Gabite. Next up was the fight against Warden Ingo, and he was strong as he had 3 Pokemon. He starts with Machoke as I start with Diana, but I switched to Herbert. I hit in Confusion which hit, but I should have done a strong style, cause the Machoke takes me out with a Bullet Punch and a Double Edge. Next was Tangela and I used Diana again. Tangela instantly hits me with a Stun Spore and I did a Fire Punch which almost knocks out Tangela. I switched out Diana and replaced in Neil to finish off the Tangela. Gliscor was an easy one, as one Ice Beam with Barbara takes him out. Further, at the Coronet Highlands, I catch a Rhyhorn and named her Jillian. I trained with Rhyhorn a bit and evolved her into a Rhydon. I got a protector from the space-time distortion, so I evolved her into a Raperial afterwards. I grinded for a Razelcraft from Sneasels to evolve my Sneasel into a Weavile, and it worked out. After some more training, I evolved my Barbara into a Walrein. I then catch a Bronzong, which will be important later in this run, and believe me, he will. The battle against Mary went pretty well. I easily defeated the Skunk Tank, but I didn't trust the Scorpy, so I had to switch out to Neil. He cleared the path to start the battle against Electrode, and it was getting tougher out here, but with that we defeated our 4th Noble. Before I leave the area, I catch an Electrabuzz in case I need him. Before we move on to the next area, I have a fight against Akari. She starts with Mr. Mime and I start with my Neil. I start off with a Crunch, which deals a lot of damage. A Psychic hits hard and I had to switch out Neil for Donna. I hit a Poison Jab, which takes out the Mr. Mime. Next up is Pikachu, which misses an Iron Tail, and that could have been the end for Donna. I switched in Repelior and that was a mistake as an Iron Tail hits and I literally switched to Tom after this. He takes an Iron Tail and does a Bulldoze, which knocks out the Pikachu, but it was faithful against the Staravia and he dies. Rest in peace Tom. I switched in Barbara and I miss a Blizzard, and a Brave Bird would have killed me if it crits. Man, that was close. A rollout takes out the Staravia and we can move on. The next area is the Alabaster Icelands, where the level cap is level 50, but there's loads of high level Pokemon here. Training should be at its hardest. The next battle is against Warden Gaelic, which should be doable with Barbara. The opponents start off with a Crunch and a Hex, which deals plenty of damage in the beginning. A Strong Star rollout takes out Frostlass. Another Crunch hits me and it was time to switch to Neil, who finishes the job with a Strong Style Rock Slide. I played hide and seek with Sabi for a while until it was time to face him in combat, and oh boy, there was 3 against 1 and this could be the hardest battle yet. I start with Jillian because he is immune to electric and is strong against fire moves. The only move I was watching out for was high horsepower. The Electrofire and Magmortar start off with 2 status moves as Reperior did a high horsepower. I risked an Arcal style high horsepower so the Reperior couldn't move. I took damage from the poison as the other 2 didn't even bother to attack. I switched out Reperior for Walrein, but unfortunately the opponent Reperior moved first. Yikes, now we have one of our strongest Pokemon with low health. I knew I couldn't take the Reperior out with all the Pokemon, so I sacrificed Barbara. The Reperior was defeated, but Barbara got knocked out by the Electrofire's Thunder Punch. I switched to Neil so he could finish the 2 Pokemon and the battle against Sabi. But this isn't the end, as I must defeat the Brave Fairy next. I started with Donna, who did a Night Slash, and then decides to be a hero and survive a Brave Bird, so I could take the Brave Fairy out. What a relief. Only one Pokemon lost there and I couldn't believe it. I floated to the iceberg to catch the Eternal Ice for the fight against Avalok, but before that I added Electabuzz in my team. With again enough merit points, I evolved Electabuzz, who I named Stanford, into a Electivire. At the Icelands I catch a Riolu, which I named Loretta, but she dies in training. At another area I catch a Piggleswine, which will be later in my team. Next up was Avalok, and I think he was one of the easier noble fights. I took him down in one attempt, and with that we took every frenzied Pokemon down. With the new level cap I could use my Piggleswine and evolved him into a Mamoswine and called him God, because why not? The next day the sky collapsed in space and time. After that, the coward Kamado decides to kick me out of the village for nothing. In my main game, I chose the Diamond Clan, but since this is the specific type Nuzlocke, I decided to go with the Pearl Clan, because why not? To save the world, I must complete 3 trials at the lakes. The first trial was against Goodra. As the Goodra did shelter, I start off with 2 bulldozers. Ein Hydro Pump did plenty of damage, but the final bulldoze take the Stanford out and he's gone. He didn't last long. I switched in Diane and the first trial was completed. Because I lost my Stanford, I catch a male Waltz at the Snowpoint Temple. I called him Nate. I actually forgot to record the second and third trial, but they went pretty well. I trained my Nate into a Great and my team was ready for the Baney fight. Do I have the power to beat Baney? Let's find out. He starts with Mismagius as I start with Donna. The first one was pretty simple, as one Night Slash took out the Mismagius. Next is Sneasler, and well, he is 4 times more effective than me with his fighting type. It was a no-brainer to find out I couldn't handle the Sneasler. I switched in Nate, but he gets a hard hit by a Diacrawl and got paralyzed. I tried to move, but the paralyzed hit me as he goes for a quick attack. And strong style Diacrawl takes out the Great and all the training was for nothing, but a stupid paralyzed turn. I switched in Jillian to take out the Sneasler with a high horsepower. Next up was a Great of his own, and he did a Drain Punch which dealt less damage than expected. I switched in Diane and he took the Great out with 2 Shadow Sneaks. The last Pokemon was Gardevoir, who immediately goes for a Psychic and almost took my Diane out. I again switched to Jillian to hit Gardevoir with an Iron Head and to win the battle. And here is where the Bronzong and Mime Jr., who evolved into Mr. Mime, come along. So, as the coward Commando Kamado wants to fight, it is one of the last battles and therefore important. He starts with Brave Fairy and I start with Jillian. An Aspirine hits, but a Rock Slide will take out the Brave Fairy. Next up is Snorlax, who I think is the toughest in this battle. He hits in high horsepower, so I had to switch to God. He hits a critical hit Rock Smash, which is lucky, but his defense didn't get lowered. Then a Giga Impact hit me hard. I could move 2 turns in a row, so I chose to do an Icicle Crash and an Algal style high horsepower. Next up is Golem, as he does an Algal style double edge and I didn't risk it, so I switched to Bronzor, and this is where the most important part comes in. A level 39 Bronzong absolutely smashes Golem down to the Shadow Realm with a Flash Cannon. Last Pokemon is Clefable, who didn't call mine. Bronzor then does a Grass Cannon, which doesn't deal that much damage. But Faith has come for Bronzong and got hit by 2 Psychics. We will never forget what you did for his Griffin. I switch to Arcanine and do a Flare Blitz which almost takes out Clefable. But a strong style Flare Blitz does the trick. With that, we've beaten Commander Kamado, but not the entire game yet. With that, it's time for the battle against Palkia. In this battle, I have a chance to let me catch a Palkia. I started with Diane and Hydro Pump hits me and I did one thing, sacrifice Diane. I didn't reach life and before you know it, Diane was gone with an Hydro Pump. Next up is Carter, aka Mr. Mime, who does a strong Dazzling Green. This was one chance only. I must catch it now before Palkia destroys my Pokemon team. And with one throw, we caught a Palkia luckily, so we keep 3 Pokemon alive for the fight against Frollo. But first, I catch a Zora in an ice cave and call him Ernie. He will be my last normal Pokemon on the team. I will add some legendaries because I will only have 4 Pokemon and that would be unfair against the fight against Frollo. I evolved Ernie into a Zoroark afterwards. Next up was the fight against the bandit sister Charm, which wouldn't be that hard. I did a high horsepower which almost took out the Rhydon. Rhydon then did some major damage, so I had to switch to Palkia. Next is Gengar, but he goes down to a single Earth Power. And with that, it was time for the fight against Origin form Dialga. And I really had some trouble for this, and I nearly died. But I remembered the Palkia and Dialga fight too well and remembered their pattern. We defeated Dialga, and with that we won the main game, which makes this Nuzlocke to me complete. But we are not done yet. We will be playing the post game to see if we can 100% complete the Nuzlocke. I catched all the legendaries and they were very easy, but I only had to fight Regigigas. But we have to do one last fight before Follow, and that is against Commander Kamado. He starts with Golem as I start with my Palkia. One Hydro Pump takes out the Golem. Next up is Snorlax, who is an idiot and does double resistance Fire Punch. I again did a Hydro Pump, which doesn't deal that much damage. Snorlax then goes for a Giga Impact, which deals loads of damage. I took a rest and regained my health back. I tried to attack, but ironically I was drowsy. Snorlax then goes for a Giga Impact as I try one more rest. It didn't work. I switched in new and hit Snorlax with an Argyle style Rock Slide, and Thunderfang takes the Snorlax out. Next up is Heracross, which could be a huge problem. We can lose Neil here, and what do you know? It happened. Rest in peace Neil, we had a great time with you. I switched in Jillian and hit Heracross with a strong style Fire Punch to take him out. Next up is Clefable, who hits a hard Water Pulse. I switched in Dialga and hit Clefable with a Flash Cannon, which almost took her out. Kamada then used a Full Restore on Clefable as I did a Flash Cannon. Clefable then sets up a Calm Mind, but it doesn't really matter as I take her out with an Earth Power. Rest up was Brave Fairy, who hardly couldn't do anything to Dialga. I almost took out the Brave Fairy with a Roar of Time, but a few turns later, the Brave Fairy goes down and we defeated Commander Kamado for the last time, which means the next battle is against Follow. But before that, I replaced Neil for Heatran in my team, and then we are ready to go. Do we have what it takes to beat Follow and complete the game? We will find out in this intense battle. Follow starts with Spirit Tomb as I start with Dialga. I start with a critical hit Flash Cannon, which almost took out the Spirit Tomb. Follow then switched Spirit Tomb out for Lucario. I switched out Dialga for Palkia. Lucario then goes for a scary Bulk Up, which raises his stats. A strong style Earth Power doesn't take out the Lucario, but Follow decides to switch again. Togekiss comes out and she hit me hard with a Moonblast. I switched in Dialga and hit a strong style Flash Cannon, which almost takes out the Togekiss. This battle was pretty simple so far. Follow then goes for a Full Restore as I take the Togekiss out next turn. Lucario comes out, who does a strong style Bullet Punch and a Close Combat, who deals lots of damage to my Dialga. I switch out Dialga for Heatran as Lucario did a Bulk Up, but Lucario goes down to an Earth Power. Next up is Garchomp, who takes me out with a strong style Earth Power. I switch in Gold and take Garchomp out with a single Icicle Crash. Roserade comes out and did a weak Spikes, and again an Icicle Crash takes him out. Arcanine comes out and faces Calm for God as a strong style Raging Fury takes him out. I switched in Palkia and did a rest to regain health back. I then did a strong style Hydro Pump to take out the Arcanine. Spiritomb is rest and almost kills me with 2 Shadow Balls. I took a rest and did an Earth Power to take out the Spiritomb and to defeat Follow, but there's still more to come. Follow has Warsland trick up his sleeves. He summoned the balanced Pokemon Giratina and I have to defeat him twice in order to complete the Nuzlocke. Do we have what it takes to defeat Follow and Giratina? We will find out. I start with Dialga as Giratina is filled with terrible might. An Earth Power takes out my Dialga. Next up is Palkia, who did an Argyle style Earth Power, which does nothing. But I did manage to lower Giratina's defense. And Spatial Rend almost took down the Giratina. Giratina then hits a strong style Dragon Claw, which takes my Palkia out. I switched in Jillian, who takes the normal Giratina out with a strong style high horsepower. Next up is Origin form Giratina, who hits an Aura Spear and an Earth Power to take out my Jillian, and now all hope is on Ernie. I hit an Argyle style Shadow Ball so I could move twice. I hit another Argyle style Shadow Ball, and the only thing I am scared of is a strong style attack from Giratina, which we survive. A strong style Shadow Ball takes the Giratina out, and with that we've beaten the game and the run. This honestly was an amazing experience. I hope to do this more in the future, but the only problem may be time. I try my best to make a video every 2 weeks because I have a job and edit only 1 hour and a half a day. Anyway, if you want to see more content, then make sure to like the video and comment what you want to see next, and make sure to subscribe for more. And with that, I say goodbye and on to the next one.